Hey there, it's Simon Hurley from Inklipse and welcome to another video. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Now today, I wanted to do a fun live stream sharing lots of different ways to use your layering dies. I promised this video when I did another video sharing a fun technique with these dies a little while back. So I promised this, I'm holding up to my promise here, and I have a bunch of different ideas, kind of unique ways to use the layering dies or create some unique cards with them. So I'll wait till some of you guys join. We're doing it live stream style today. So I'll be looking off to the side to read your comments and we'll start creating pretty soon here. So I'm just going to see if you guys are all in here. Hello, thanks so much for joining, guys. Hey, Catherine. Okay, so I'm going to turn down my work surface and we can get started with the projects. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to start with something pretty simple here. I'm just going to take a piece of cardstock and we're going to do some embossing with the dies. And by the way, everything is linked down below in the description in case if you're interested in any of these products. So I'm going to be using this ADI die layer A for this. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining in. And I'm going to use this die to do some embossing. My die's a little messed up. I was trying some different watercolors with it and I kind of messed it up a little bit there, but it'll still do this technique perfectly. So I'm going to take a little bit of water in a spray bottle here, and I'm just going to go up and spray it 2 to 3 times on each side. So I'll flip it over and spray it again. And this is just going to allow the paper to take whatever kind of embossing we give it without really cracking too much. So I'm going to wipe off my surface so it's nice and clean. You don't want it soaking, you just want it a little bit damp. And then you guys know I've been on my big Gemini Junior kick. I have been loving this machine for all my die cutting and embossing needs. So I'm going to go into here and I'll take my plates. So you're going to want to go in with the rubber mat. So this rubber mat is going to do some embossing for us today. Then you want to leave out the magnetic plate here. So I'll pull that plate out. Somebody left me a comment about that and that really helps the embossing. So I'll take my wet paper then and I'll put it right down onto the surface. And then I'll take my die and I'm going to line it up kind of a little bit towards the top center. And then I'll put my plates on and I'm going to emboss it then. So I'll bring in my Gemini and I'll run this right through. And hopefully, cross our fingers, it turns out well. I tried doing embossing without the water and it kind of cracks your cardstock a little bit and cuts through sometimes, so hopefully this worked. Let's see how this did. And look, there you go, you have that beautiful embossed design. You can see all that fun detail in there, and just because we wet the paper a little bit before we got started, it really helps that paper take the shape of the die that we really want it to. So for sake of time in today's video, I'm not going to share every card in full and how I finished everything, but I'll pull in some examples and kind of explain how I did a few things. So I'll move those plates off to the side. Now for this card, I cut it down a little bit on both sides and finished it off on a tomato soup card base from Gina K, and then added this fun die cut from Holtz. I'm going to share how I made that quickly. So all I did to make that colorful die cut is create my own paper. So I'm going to bring in some Distress Oxides here. I've been loving using these lately too. And I'm going to bring in 3 different colors. So I'm bringing in Abandoned Coral, Fossilized Amber, and Peacock Feathers. And these colors are going to make a really beautiful rainbow for us. So if you are kind of limited on colors or don't want to buy a ton of different colors, these are 3 good really colors to start out with. So I'll go in with my Abandoned Coral first, and I'll just start blending my ink right onto here. So we get that nice kind of pinkish red color. And then I'll go in with my Fossilized Amber, and I'm going to blend this right next to it. You want to make sure that the colors overlap in between. And because they're overlapping there, that creates a nice orange color. So you're getting kind of a mix here. And then when you go in with the Peacock Feathers, you want to blend it too and make sure that that overlaps with the yellow. And then you can always go back in with that yellow, blend it back out. And right there, you're getting a green. So you get the full rainbow here. You get red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. which is really awesome, and then die cut out of it. I sometimes go in and I'll spray it too, so you get some really cool effects with just that spray. It kind of brightens it up, and you could take a little rag and pull some of that color out for more of a watercolor effect. So you could really play around with that and die cut out of it. And I got something that looks a little bit like this, and I put some embossing powder on it to make it nice and shiny. So that's just a really simple card to start out with here. Sometimes though with embossing or things like that, you want it to stand out, so the simpler the better with the embossing on there. So I'll move this off to the side, we're done with that, and we can get started on our next card then. So I also wanted to share how to use these dies as stencils, because they're, again, really intricate and really awesome. And if you buy them for die cutting, you can also get a little bit more use out of them by stenciling with them too. So they are a little bit pricier, but you can get a lot of use out of them. And again, all the products are linked down below, so if you enjoy anything that you see, I would love if you check out those links because it helps support me too, with no extra cost to you guys. So I'm gonna pull out these pieces that I've already cut out. These are some stencils that I've been using, and these are made out of Yupo cardstock. I'll have this stuff linked down below too, but basically it's a really durable, almost plasticky like cardstock. It's really good for alcohol inks, but you can reuse it. I store it with my dies after they're already cut, and you can keep reusing it over and over and over and wipe the ink off of it. They do get a little bit stained, but the ink comes off nicely and you're able to keep reusing them, which is awesome. So I'll set this off to the side, and we're gonna get started on our next card here. So I'm gonna be using these two little inside flower portions from that same ADI die, and this is layer B and C, and they have that little inside portion that's cut out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with just a regular piece of cardstock again, and we're gonna bring in our Distress Oxides here. So I'm gonna use a little bit of a different color combo. I'm bringing in some Wild Honey, some Wilted Violet, and then we have Picked Raspberry and some Fossilized Amber. So this is just a fun color combo, and these colors blend pretty nicely together, so they're gonna be great with these layering dies. And that's the cool part about these, is when you cut them out, they're not just regular stencils, they actually layer. So I'm gonna go in with this first stencil here, line it up on my card there, and this is the one with the larger openings. So I've added a little bit of tape runner on the back of this, but you can really do whatever you want for that. So I'm gonna go in here with some Wild Honey, and I'll take that, and I'm gonna just tap off to the side. I'm using the Tim Holtz glass mat, so it's really great for blending, but I also like wiping my ink off to the side so it's not super harsh then. And then I'm going to go in, and I'm just going to blend using this stencil that we've created. And I hold it down a little bit there too to make sure that it doesn't really move. If you have a spray adhesive, that can work really nicely as well. And then look, you get that really magical, fun blended effect there. But the really cool part about this is I take a little bit of water here. I can easily go in and wipe off my stencil. So look, it goes right back to white. If you're using those Distress Oxides, it doesn't stain it really badly. And it brings it right back to its original color, which is so nice, and you get to keep reusing that. It's not as durable as it's not as, thick as a stencil, but it does work really awesome for this. So then I'll go in with my next stencil. This is the top layer, and you know what, I'll add a little bit more adhesive to this, just to make sure that it stays kind of nicely there. So then I'm just going to line it up with what we've already stenciled, and it doesn't look like it's going to do much, but it's really going to layer and create some awesome effects. So I'm going in with some Picked Raspberry now. I go in here, and I'll just do my blending again. So I tapped off a little bit of that color there, and I'll go in and just blend this color right out. So I'll tap off some of that color, and I'm just kind of evenly blending it, leaving lots of that yellow still showing there. And then once I do that, I'll wipe off my surface there, and here's the final reveal. Look, you get that really fun little kind of floral, almost like snowflake design there. It's so cool. And then again, you can go back in and just wipe it off with your towel. Now I didn't even use water there, and a lot of that ink still came off, which is really awesome. So let me do that a couple more times for you. I'm just gonna do it a few more on here so you can kind of show you how I created this background design. So all I'm doing is just continuing to move my little stencils that I've created. And I'll keep stenciling here. I'll go kind of quicker here. Just blending it outside, and then to get that nice blend, I just kind of lighten up my hand as I go out a little bit, and you get that soft blend as you go then. So there we go, I've done that now, and then I'll go with the top layer, I'll line it up again. So cool with these layering dyes to create these stencils. So then I'll go in with my purple. I'm just gonna go in, I'll bring in that little bit of wilted violet there. Tap it off to the side, and then I'll bring it right onto my stencil. And even though it doesn't look like a ton of really solid color when you're doing it, when you peel it off, there's a lot of contrast there between those two colors. So it really creates a cool effect. Look at that, that's so much fun. So what I did to finish this card off is I just went in and I did the top two. Actually, I'll do one more for you guys. So I'll bring in this stencil up here, and I'll bring it in with some orange color. So I'm going to go in with some wild honey here. So each time I'm changing up the combinations, because like I said, most of these colors blend together really nicely, the colors that I chose here. So I'm just kind of layering them all up in different areas on here so you get a different look each time. Then after I've done that, I'll bring it in with some wilted violet there. So I'll bring in my wilted violet. Just go up here and bring that color right in. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed this card. I love this one with that blended look. So you get that really cool look, and then I'll finish it off. I'll actually just do this really quickly. So I'm gonna go in with some orange down here. I'll bring in this orange, put my little flower down here, and then I'll bring in the orange color and blend it out. And then I can go right on top of it with a little bit of that pink color. So I'll line that stencil up, and then I'll bring in the pink and finish it off up here. So look, you have that really cool effect. And then you'll notice there's still some white space, and you could totally leave that how it is. That's totally fine. But I'm gonna go in here, and I'll go in with some of the colors, and I'll just blend this. So it covers up a little bit of those areas, but it brings in a little bit of that color you have going all the way around. So I'll bring in a little pink up here, kind of soften it out a little bit. And then I'll bring in some orangey kind of yellow colors in between here. And then I'll kind of pounce. I'll pounce a little bit of that yellow blending tool right on top here. I'll do it all around. And this just kind of softens up those areas and makes them not super stark white anymore. So look, that's such a fun panel with the blending, and it comes out like different each time, which I really love. So to finish this card off, I mounted it onto a craft card base here. I'm so glad you guys are loving this. So these layered dies create these really cool stencils too. I mean, you can always use the full image, but I just love these little kind of flower inside pieces. So all I did was do that same blending technique all over, and then I added the little, leave a little sparkle wherever you go, and mounted it onto a craft card base. And that's from a fun Tim Holtz stamp set, and I have that linked down below too. So then we're gonna clean this up, and we'll move right on into the next card. We're moving pretty fast today, but I have lots to share with you guys, so I wanted to go pretty quickly. And then again, with these two stencils, or with my surface, since it's the glass mat, all I need to do is bring in some water and a rag to wipe it off. And then these I just kind of wipe off with a little bit of water, and it returns it right back to their original color. And then all I need to do is just store these in the little pockets along with the dies, and you can keep using these over and over, which is so awesome. Okay, so next I have a really fun technique that you might not think of with dies usually, but it's so much fun, so I wanted to share it today. So I have these sparkler butterflies. I used these in the past video, and I'll link that after this live stream's done up here in the top corner, so you guys can go check that out after the video if you're watching the replay. So I'm going to do some stamping with these dies. So let's pull these all out of the pockets, and I'll share how you can do it pretty easily. And you can see mine are a little stained because I've been doing some testing with these, and I wanted to test it to make sure that you guys wouldn't ruin your dies at home if you tried any of these techniques. So I'll share some of the things that I learned in just a second. Okay, so to do my stamping, I'm going to start off with this largest one here. And I'm going to grab an acrylic block and some purple tape. So what this is going to do is we're going to create a little kind of like stamping block for our layering dies. So all you need to do is take a piece of purple tape and roll it up like this, and then place it onto the block. And then all I need to do is just set that right down. So that's really nice because then the back of your die won't be sticky, and it's really easy to pull off after you're done stamping with it, which is really nice. So I'll bring in a piece of cardstock here, and what I learned when you're doing your stamping is you want to use distress oxides. This really is important. So you want to use, I don't use the distress inks because they don't stamp as well, but these stamp really nicely, and they're also really easy to clean off, so they won't stain your dies. If you use any other inks that aren't like a distress oxide or a really water-based ink, they're definitely going to stain your dies, and that's not good because you're cutting into like white cardstock with them. So, and you might think like, oh, I'll be able to clean it off after. Well, I tried using stamp cleaner on the dies, and it actually ruins the die because there's a certain coating on here, and it starts to kind of peel away at the coating and leave this icky mess on your cardstock. So just use distress oxides if you're going to be stamping with them, and I'll share how to clean them off in just a second afterwards. So I'm going to ink this up, and again, your acrylic block will get a little bit inky, but you're able to clean that too, just because it's so thin. So I'll stamp that down, and look, you get that really cool effect with that stamp. So it's such a thin line design. It's a little bit hard to see on camera, but in real life it's just stunning because it's so delicate of an image. So I'm going to go in, I'll keep inking this up and stamping it down too. So after I'm done with that color there, I'm going to show how to clean this off. So again, all I'm doing is just taking a little bit of water. Water won't harm the die. And then I'm going to go in and just wipe this off. So it's easy to wipe off the acrylic block, and then I'm able to wipe off the stamp too. And those red stains there are from some other dye inks that I tried that I couldn't get off. So you want to make sure you're using like the distress oxides to do this. So then I'm going in with that second layering die there, and I'm going to go down and do kind of a rainbow on this card. So I'm going in with some wild honey. I'm going to ink that up, and then I'll stamp that down. So you can see you get a really fun effect. Now I try to go with some more bold colors, because if you use lighter colors, they don't show up as well. Because it's such a thin line image, you want something pretty bold and kind of graphic as you're stamping down, and you get that really fun look. So just look at that. I love the look of it. So then I'll go in with my rag again, I'll wipe it off, and we can move on right into our next color. So I'm not going to change it this time. I'm going to move on into yellow here. And you're going to see this yellow is a little bit harder to see. So I'm not going to do as much of it because it's definitely trickier to see on the cardstock there. So then after I'm done with that, I'll go in with a little bit, I don't have green with me right now, so I'll go in with some peacock feathers. It's kind of a blue-green mix. Or actually, let me change the dye out quickly. So I'll wipe this one off. Then I'm going to adhere that one down onto the block, and I'll stamp it down. So this can be such a fun idea if you really are obsessed with the die that you have and want to try it out as a stamp. This can be so much fun, and it kind of widens the variety of projects you can create using your dies, which is so cool. So I'll go in and I'll wipe this off. I'm going to spray a little bit of water so it's easier to clean. And again, there's a little bit of ink on this one too, since I did try it with all the different dyes before I realized that it was like staining them. So this Distress Oxide is really helpful. Yeah, it's definitely a very intricate stamp for sure, but it really does. It creates a cool effect on here. So delicate. So I'm going to stamp with that purple next, and that purple really pops on here. It's super bright color. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, you want to use really bright colors like that to make everything pop. So I'll take a little bit of water. I'll wipe that off. So I don't see too much staining with any of these Distress Oxides at all. It does create a really awesome effect there. But of course, try that one at your own risk. I'm not going to be responsible for anything that happens to your dyes, but for me, I've had success with the Distress Oxides and not with any other dye ink pads. So just wanted to make that clear too. So look, that looks so awesome. I love how that looks to get a little bit more use out of your dyes and create a really fun background like that. So here's the first one that I did. This one was just with the regular dye inks before I realized that they were really staining and creating not so good of something on my dye. So I'm using the Distress Oxides now, works perfect. But here's that first card they created. So I cut it down, matted it onto a card base, and I kept it really simple with just a You Color My World, and I did the color in a black glitter cardstock. So I don't know if you guys can see that super well, but it really shines. It creates a really awesome focal for the card, and then the background really stands out too. And this is from a Sunny Studio die set, and I'll have that linked down below too. And I love that sentiment there. So moving on to the next card, we're going to go with something a little bit more simple, something that, you know, layering dies are kind of meant for, but we're going to put a fun twist on it to create an interactive card. So I cut all these out already. I didn't want to have to make you guys sit through that. I did it right before the live stream. And these are the VIVA dies. So I'll have those links down below too. They're down in the description box with all the links. And these dies are really awesome. They have those centers that are cut out and also the outside portion. So you could do really cool things with that, maybe make a window card or something. But I'm going to show you what I created with it. So I'm starting off with the green dye at the bottom here, and I'm going to adhere all these together. So I'm going to use some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I like this stuff just because it comes out of the bottle really easily. So I'm able to just easily add lots of adhesive without having to squeeze too much. Some of those fine tip applicators are a little bit harder to squeeze, so I'm just taking a break from them and going onto this Nuvo adhesive here. Just adding this all over the die, just getting all those little details. It's kind of a finer image, so sometimes it can be hard to put adhesive on these, but you just want quite a bit kind of all over in different areas. And then I'm going to take it and just line it up with this other die here. So like I said, this is what you would regularly do with the layering dies. I'm just going to share how to layer them up quickly. And then I'll share the fun twist on the layering dies and what kind of card we're going to create then. So then I'll go in with this top piece, and these are all Gina K cardstocks. I don't have these linked down below, but I'll link them after the stream. These are really fun colors of Gina's cardstock. But in the last video that I used the layering dies with, I shared you can always just create your own colors too, using some Distress Oxides to create your own colors or your own, you know, patterns or things like that. And that's always super fun too. So if you don't have lots of different colors of cardstock that coordinate, I really encourage you guys to just kind of create your own and kind of have fun with that too, because you can get some cool watercolor effects with your own cardstocks as well. So I'm just going to line them up, making sure they all go really nicely together. And these line up like a dream, and they create such a cool die there. So look at that. That is so much fun. It creates something so awesome, and that's so unique too to these layering dies from Birch Press, which I really love. Love that unique look on your cards. Like, nobody believes that you, layered those up after. They always wonder how you did it. So I love that, the look of intricate die cuts. So I'm just layering this one down next. This is the inside panel. If you have any glue that seeps out, you can always kind of pinch it off. And this is the really intricate one on the inside here. So I'll just add some liquid adhesive onto this. And then we'll add it right down onto that die. So that was really easy. That's just the inside portion of the card now. And it fits together really nicely. You have this really awesome die on the outside, and then you also have that inside portion too, which I just think is so beautiful when it's done. And if you use, different color combos, you can create some really different effects every single time. So now I want to share the fun card that I created here. So this takes a little bit of time to create and kind of fold. So let me just share how I did it here. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer quickly so I can share how I cut this card down. And I'm going to need to pull out the other one. I'm not super great at math, but let me share how I created it. So I cut the card down to this size. So I cut it down to 8.5 or 8.25. Okay, no, so it's just below 8.5. It's just below there. So I cut it down there, and I also did it at 5.5. Yes, you can also make your stencils with regular stencil plastic for sure. And then I'll cut it down to 5.5, which is that normal card size. So I'll move this off to the side. And then I'm going to bring in my scoring tool. So this is where we're going to score our card. And I think, yeah, you score it right there. Okay. So then I'm going to go in here. There's lots of different tutorials on this. I was kind of struggling the other day to make sure that it lines up perfectly. So I just have to double and triple check it quickly here. I don't want to mess up for you guys on this live. So I'm going to score it at 2 and 1 little notch there. And then I'll flip it over and do the exact same thing on the other side. So what this creates then is an easy card, getting little inky fingerprints on here. So this creates a folding card that has an opening in the center. And if it doesn't match up perfectly, here's what we can do. So you can see it doesn't match up exactly, which is not a big problem at all. So all I need to go do is just bring in my trimmer again here. And I'll just cut off a little tiny portion of that panel on the inside, just to make it line up super nicely. So I just take off a little sliver, and then I'll check it. And there we go, that lines up a little bit better there. You can always kind of move your panels around and rescore them too, to make sure that it fits exactly in there. So once I've done that, I can then take my die that I've done. So here's that little die that I've created. I'm going to pop out that little inside center piece, because what we're going to do is we're going to cut this. So you can always use your trimmer, but I find it to be helpful to just go in here, cut it right down the center there. So I'm just cutting it right down the center of both of these pieces. And hopefully that lines up nicely for us today. So that's just going to line up right in the center there. And all we need is some little bit of liquid adhesive. And then I'll go in and I'll do the same thing to this side too. So then what I can do is I can start adhering this down. So all you need is a little bit of liquid adhesive. Yeah, the little inky fingerprint, CSI. So I'm going to take a little bit of liquid glue. CSI creativity, that's funny. And I'm going to adhere it right in the center here. And then I'll do the same thing right on the opposite side. So what this is doing is it's making that kind of closure center be the focal point of the card. You don't have to be super perfect with it either. You just want everything to line up nicely in the center there. And look, you've got that fun closure already. So much fun. I love how that looks when it comes together. And then I'm going to take the other side of my die, and this is easier to add liquid adhesive on since it's a bigger piece on the bottom here. Just going to take that die and line it right up there with that center line. Again, like I said, you can always do it with a trimmer. Mine's not exactly perfect here, but it's handmade. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you want it to be a little bit straighter, you can always cut it through your trimmer, and the tonic guillotine does really well with that. I just didn't want to risk it on today's live. So then I'll go in and I'm going to line it right up there, and look, it lines up really nice and creates that super awesome focal point. I just love how this turns out. And you can always cover this in embossing powder to make it stand out even more and create a really shiny focal point. But look at that. So you can either have it going this way, sideways, and have it open up like this, or you could go this direction and have it open up like this. And you can also just leave this whole center hole and just adhere it to one side, and then it'll kind of act as the closure, and so when one lifts off, the whole thing comes with it. So you could really play around with different fun folds using these layering dies. I think that's so cool. For this one, I used a color scheme that was a little bit weird with Distress Oxides, and then I added this little thanks die from Birch Press Design. I added that right down onto the center, and I added a little bit of kind of gloss to it, and then that opens up to reveal that fun card on the inside. So I just love these cards with the creative closure there, and I think that's so awesome. So this one's kind of more in the center, and then I adhere this one kind of up a little bit further, so you can kind of play around with that as well. Okay, so moving on to the last card here. Do you guys want to see one more? I think I'll share one more here. So I'm moving on with this last card, and I need these two dies here to create it. So for this card, I'm going to grab some more colors of cardstock. I'll do the die cutting on screen here quickly. So I think I'll go in with some blue, yellow, and green, or should I add a little bit of red in there? Maybe I'll add a little bit of red too. What do you guys think? I think maybe I'll add that red in there. Let me know, I might change it too if you guys want me to. So then I'll bring out the die cutting plates again. I want to share a fun trick with these too. One of my viewers recommended it. I'm not exactly sure who it was. I don't recall right off the top of my head. But all you need to do, if you want to kind of create a regular die cutting machine look. Okay, everybody said red. So I'm going to add the plastic plate down on the bottom and then the metal plate too. And then I'm going to grab my pieces of cardstock here. I'll have to run this through twice. But I'm going to lay that right down, and then I'll lay the blue down too. We're just going for the inside panels of these. And then what you can do is take the magnetic piece and put it right down over top. So this allows you to put the cutting side down instead of having it up in the Gemini Junior, so it's not as confusing then. So I'll take it and run it right through my machine. I just love this thing. If you guys are having like problems with regular hand cranking machines, this one is for sure the way to go. It is a little bit pricier, but the motors are super heavy in there, and the rollers are really nice, so it like cuts perfectly every time. Which I haven't had a ton of success with every die cutting machine that I've tried, but this one just seems to do such an awesome job. So I'll pop out those pieces in just a second. And all I do to get it out of the die is just kind of pull it out like that. And look, it cuts so perfect, it all comes out at once. And then I can easily pop that out in just a second. But I'm gonna do one more here. So I'll bring in the red that you guys suggested. And then I'm going to put my mat back on there and run it right through the machine. So while that's going through, we can pop all these little pieces out. So look how easily all of those come out. That's so nice. So you could just do that so quickly. I'm not going to worry about the outside piece right now Just worry about the inside pieces here, because this is what we'll be using. Set my machine off to the side. Some of these littler pieces are a little bit harder to get out since my nails can't really like reach in there and get them out. You could try a lint roller, but I find that kind of rips the cardstock. I haven't had too much luck with that. Let's try something else. We can always try purple tape too. Thank you so much, Jeanette. She says she loves my videos. That's so awesome to hear. So this purple tape works well too. Since the purple tape isn't as sticky, that actually works really nice to pull out these pieces. So it doesn't rip your cardstock, and it just pulls these out nicely. So these are fully cut out. They're just a little bit harder to get out because of my nails. My nails aren't like long enough to like poke into there. So look, there we have that fun little flower shape, and we'll do the same thing with the other ones too. So I'm just able to easily pop out all those pieces then. You can see how easily all those come out. And then I'll take another piece of purple tape. That one's kind of filled with all those blue pieces there. And this is so easy to do too. That purple tape really does work wonders. Look, that just comes out so easily. Wow, that's an awesome tip. Purple tape for the win. And it's so easy to do. Sometimes that can be a little bit tedious, but that really makes it, wow, a lot easier too. So I've got both of those out. Now we're gonna do this red piece quickly. And then I can share kind of a unique way to use it. So I'll pop out this red piece. This is one of the smaller ones too. Just popping out all those pieces. Now I'll grab one last piece of purple tape here. Oh yeah, the press and seal would definitely work, yeah. Yeah, the press and seal, I love the press and seal. I've been using that lately, and it's been amazing for crafting. Some of the pieces are kind of stubborn. They're a little bit more stubborn than others. But I'll go in with another piece, because these get full pretty fast with all those little tiny pieces. So I'm just going to go in here and lift this off. This one's being a little more stubborn than the last two, but it's still working nicely. Then I'll just kind of finish it off with this little pick from Tim Holtz. This is just a little knife pick here, and that just gets the pieces out pretty easily too, so you can kind of choose between both of those. Sometimes this can be a little bit more tedious, so that tape works pretty nice. Okay, so I'll move this off to the side. I use a little mini vacuum, and I know a lot of people asked about that last time. I'll have that linked again this time, but I just vacuum up all these tiny little pieces since they're kind of a little bit stubborn to kind of pick up on their own. So I'll go in here, and I'm gonna create something really fun. What is the purple tape? The purple tape is a die cutting tape from Thermoweb that is really nice and easy to lift things off your cardstock without them peeling or anything like that. So I'll take some more glue here, and I'm going to add some glue to the bottom. Yeah, this video will be up on my channel after I'm done completely, so you guys can check out anything you want to after the video is done too, which is really awesome. I love these live streams. So I'm going to go in here and I'll line this up right in the center. So look, I love that. But I'm offsetting it a little bit. So these are meant to, be lined up right in the center, and then you have that cool layering effect. But I love doing this too, where you line it up a little bit off center to create this more full flower here. That's just so cool. And even though it's not meant to layer like this, you get that cool center, and I think it still layers up really awesome and really cool for a whole nother look on your card. So look, you just add that right to the center of a card, add a quick sentiment, and there's a really awesome focal point for you to look at, and it's different from what you would usually use your layering dies as. So I really love that too. There's really lots of ways to use the layering dies. I'll share one that I created a little while ago. I put a little gem in the center to cover up that little tiny center point, And then I covered this in embossing powder. That's been like my latest thing. I love doing that. So it gives it lots of shine. It makes it kind of look like your own handmade embellishment. And then I just stamped down happy birthday. So it really can be that simple, just creating something like that. And it really looks elegant and stunning. And you can, again, try different color combos, because I think these projects look really cool with different colors that you've created. So I'm going to bring in all the projects we've created today, if I can find all of them at my messy desk right now. I'll bring in some of them that we created at least. And I really love doing this video and joining you guys today. They're not on a schedule right now. My live videos, I kind of do them randomly as I can, but hopefully I'll come up with a schedule in the near future. So I think these are the different cards, the 5 different cards that we created today. Yeah, you could definitely add some Nuvo glitter drops for sure. So this is all the cards we created today. Just to give a little recap, I love the look of all of them and how unique you can really play with these layering dies and get some really awesome effects. They are, again, like I said, they are a little bit pricier, on the pricier side, but again, it's because they're so unique and because there's so much metal in the dies, but they really do create some stunning effects, whether you use them as they're supposed to, just to layer it up, or you create, fun folding cards, or, stencils, or stamp with them, and kind of think out of the box a little bit with your layering dies. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and joining me on the live stream. Thanks for doing that, guys. Any of my replay viewers, thanks for sticking in here and watching the whole video through. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and also be sure to click that subscribe button down below and the little bell icon next to it. Make sure if I go live like this, you get all the notifications so you can join right in, or if I upload a new video, you can be one of the first to watch it. So if there's no other comments, thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. You guys started off my weekend awesome. I love chatting with all of you and creating some different card making projects. So I'll finish some of the ones that I created, and I'll kind of upload these photos as well so you guys can see them a little bit closer. So be sure to follow me on Instagram as well. Same way it's spelled here, inklipse, and I'll see you guys very soon. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye. Thanks so much for joining me in the stream.